Oh, yeah. Oh, look at that.
There it is. It's coming.
Oh, this is so cool.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Commercially Speaking. My name is Timmy Barron, ADHD.
And I'm Bo Barron, CCIM.
And this is the podcast where Bo teaches me everything about commercial real estate, investing, commercial real estate, everything, and more. Because I knew nothing at the beginning here. So I'm asking all the questions. And I don't care if I look dumb because I'm not in this world at all. I'm just learning as much as I can so I can make fun of y'all. Man, my muscle memory just slipped out some words it shouldn't have. Which I'm glad it didn't. I was about to. Never mind. Let's move on.
Okay.
We're live. I gotta self-edit in a moment. Bo, season 2, baby. Our first live of season 2.
Yes, and you've got a great guest today.
I'm excited about this.
Like, we're doing a little bit off topic today.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, it's not specifically commercially real estate related.
Commercially
real estate related.
I like real estate related,
but it's so applicable.
Yeah,
it's so applicable, and so yeah,
I know so many people have questions about what we're going to talk about, like so much. Anyway,
and they should, because as an industry, we do this thing poorly. And so, let me introduce to you our guest.
Let's do it.
All right. Today, we have with us Wes Gay, and I'm going to let Wes tell you a little bit about himself, but I met Wes, and I don't know how many years ago. It was probably around 2016, 2017, when I went to Nashville. Rod Santamasso and I went to Nashville for a StoryBrand workshop where we were learning this marketing framework. And at the end, this was with Donald Miller, who many of you may have heard of. At the end of this, we asked Donald Miller, we said, hey, look, we're redoing the Massimo Group website. Who could we get that's trained in your framework that's doing this? Who could we get that? And right off the bat, he was like, call Wes Gay. And so we called Wes. Wes is out of Atlanta, and he helped us redo the Massimo website. And I've been using him a number of times since then. We brought him in to help him to help us at our church. I've used him here at Barron Commercial Group a number of times. And at the end of our episode today, we're going to share with you something that Wes and I are actually working on.
Oh, heck yeah.
So, Wes
Gay.
Yeah, baby.
There he is.
Yeah, we've heard a lot about you.
Mostly good. By the way, that opening graphic to start the show, I mean, I feel like I need one, Timmy, that's maybe a little more like yours, because then we could look like a three-man tag team.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
we can do that.
Sure.
Yeah, we can do that. You got it, Wes.
What Timmy will do is, after this is over, he'll take the screenshot of the most ridiculous face that you make over the next hour or so, and he'll redo it. And if you're like our dad, you'll put that image on the back of your business card.
He did.
Yeah. I did the same thing, by the way. Like, it's but that makes a little more sense for me.
Either that or just put me in a Nacho Libre mask.
Oh. Nacho! I showed my girls that the other day.
The best.
The best.
He's the best.
Jared Hayes, the best. Well, Wes, we talked about you when Rod was here, of course, and they both were just singing your praises. But tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, how you got into it, like maybe a 3 to 4 minute origin story at the most, and then I'm also curious, do you work specifically with commercial real estate professionals? And yeah, so include that.
Yeah, that was like 4 questions. So we'll just we'll pick the ones and see where we wind up. So most companies, y'all know this, are really bad at talking about themselves in the way that their customers are, to make their customers care. And so what I do is I'll come in and help them get really clear in their messaging. How are we going to talk about ourselves? Who are we actually trying to talk to? That's a big thing that I clarify for a lot of folks. And then it turns into all the stuff, marketing and sales collateral, websites, helping rewrite proposals, sales sequences, email campaigns, marketing strategy, sales strategy, etc. And it's all like Bo mentioned on the beginning, it's all based off this book, shameless plug here, called Building a Story Brand by a guy named Donna Miller. Sold a little more than 1 million copies so far. It's a storytelling framework.
A few of them were sold to me. Yep.
Yeah.
It's so good.
I have a few, somewhere on my shelf. We'll get into that. And throughout the course of this conversation, I will talk about that a lot, and we'll probably ruin movies for you. So
yeah, let's ruin movies.
Or ruin,
especially to the guy that's been in movies.
Yeah, let's ruin movies.
Let's ruin all of them. Ruin all of them. Holiday seasons are coming up. I'm about to ruin all the Hallmark holiday movies.
Hollywood ruined.
Big spoilers. Yeah, I've been doing it since 2016. Got out of that. Before that, I was in kind of the nonprofit church world and transitioned into doing this fall of 2016. First met Bo and Rod. I think it was early 2017-ish.
That sounds
was
right.
The first time we got to meet. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's what I do. I don't work specifically or exclusively with commercial real estate. I've worked in and out of commercial real estate over the years. One of the things I found about commercial real estate, I've probably worked in 60 plus industries at this point, and serving probably 115, 120 different audiences in that space. And commercial real estate everybody wants to think they're special. Commercial real estate's no exception there. The reality is commercial real estate brokers have the same problem so many other businesses have, where their expertise should be at like a level 9 or 10 on a scale of 1 to 10. Their audience doesn't really care until it's a level 1 or 2. Mm. And so what I do is I basically help brands go, how do we go from a 9 or 10 and distill that down to the 1 or 2? I mean, we might speak at a level 3 and our audience feels like they're very smart, but there's still so much they don't know.
Now, when you say 9 to 10 down to 1 or 2, you're talking about the simplicity in how we communicate, correct?
The simplicity in how we communicate and figuring out what actually matters. Mm. You know, when they shot Top Gun Maverick, I forget how many hours of footage I heard they shot collectively. It was a bunch. And it's a 2-hour movie, a little over.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
They had to leave a lot of stuff on the cutting room floor. I think, and Hollywood knows that, right? You shoot these movies, make these movies, there's always bonus footage, deleted scenes, all the stuff they didn't use. But in marketing, we just think we got to hit everybody with everything. What we want to do is figure out how do we simplify it down, but even more than that, how do we only talk about the real things that matter and the things that actually motivate people to do business with us?
Yeah.
So how on earth do we know in general, like commercial real estate or anything else, like how do we know what actually matters?
Great question. So in I usually do it by taking people through this StoryBrand framework. And the first thing we're going to figure out in any story is this idea of who's our character, right? So in a movie, you know, in the first 8 or 10 minutes, typically who the hero is going to be, but also you understand who they are, a little bit about kind of their context, personality, background, et cetera. There'll be small hints along the way. And it's leading to this thing of what does that hero actually want? What's the one thing they're really after? Top Gun Maverick, I'll use that one quite a bit today. But in the first few minutes of that movie, we understand it's really just about Tom Cruise trying to prove he's still an asset to the modern Navy. Mm-hmm. That's it. That whole movie's about that. But if it was about that and him trying to plan his parents' 50th wedding anniversary and train for the CrossFit Games and build his following on Twitter and propose to Penny and adopt a cat and win open mic night, you're going to go, I don't know what this movie's about. And guess what? Even if they put IMAX cameras in F-18, I don't care anymore because I'm so confused.
I want Top Gun open mic night.
All they're going to do is sing "You Lost That Love and Feeling." That's all they're going to do.
That's true, yeah.
But it'll be Glenn Powell.
Top Gun karaoke competition.
Well, before you go even further, this kind of begs the question. Like, that would be a mess of a movie, okay?
Yeah.
A giant mess.
What's a movie that has made that mistake and actually been made?
Oh, so many.
Like, can you think of really for Timmy, as the guy who's been in movies, what's a movie that's really...
The Room.
The Room?
The Room. The Room, it's a 2003 comedy romance. It is a cult classic. People love it because it is so bad. Disjointed, awful. James Franco ended up making a movie called The Artist.
Oh, yeah.
That's about this guy who wrote and directed this movie, a mysterious man. But that's one where it's like, just throw everything you possibly can in it. Mm-hmm. A lot of Hallmark movies are that way as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
reason why most of us probably couldn't come up, I can't come up with one, because we either don't finish the movie or they're just forgettable.
Right.
Right. You just don't know what it's about. And so you can't correlate, this movie's about this, so therefore we're going to talk about that. On like commercial real estate, for example, I think one of the challenges, there's a fear I think a lot of people have in business, especially if you're under, the fear starts to fall away, I think, a little over probably $1.5 million or $2 million a year in revenue. But especially when you're under that as a broker, there's this thought that your idle, we know ICP stands for idle client profile. Some people think it stands for idle client pulse, as if they have a pulse, they're my idle client. And so they'll talk to everybody. When you try to hit everybody, you're actually going to hit nobody. And so we've got the irony is, the more focused and specific you get, the more you narrow in on who that person is, the more targeted you're going to be. And then, crazy enough, the more it's going to actually open you up to the right people. I worked with a broker one time, commercial real estate broker, who he was doing about $1.5 million a year in GCI, and he knew exactly who his target was. It was in a specific region, privately held industrial. That's it. He didn't drift out of that. He had for 15 years been really disciplined in that space. So that actually made it no, somebody else.
Okay.
But it made it really easy.
My buddy Alan.
Alan sounds smart. I also say that because Alan's my middle name. So favorable to guys named Alan.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a thing of like, do we know who we're talking to? Is really what it comes down to. And then what do they wake up every day trying to do? I think commercial real estate is another one of these industries where they're plagued by people who forget they're not selling to or trying to get hired by other commercial real estate brokers. They're just not. And so they need your expertise, but you got to figure out, what does that person wake up every day trying to do or trying to solve? Yeah. Which is, well, I guess we'll just go ahead and go here. That's part of the problem, I think, with commercial real estate people on Twitter. I'm still calling it Twitter. Is that sometimes it's like they think their marketing or who their audience is other brokers, because they're trying to flex on each other. Like it's like the personal brand equivalent of Muscle Beach, or like when we were in high school, the guys who had the old Chevrolet pickup trucks in the Walmart parking lot on Friday night showing off their new Flowmaster mufflers, which is a very niche reference to our audience. Or if you're like me and grew up in a town where I turned 16, got a truck, and went and got the Flowmasters put on, dual exhaust, because you got to. And this was back then, there was no emissions test where I grew up in South Alabama. So they cut the catalytic converter off so it'd be louder. But they hand wrote the invoice because they didn't want a formal paper trail of cutting off catalytic. But like, it's all the guys who do that to their pickup trucks in high school, or the guys on Twitter who are all trying to impress each other. And I'm sitting here watching it every day going, ain't one of these folks going to hire you unless you're about to sell me a course on how to build my Twitter following. But at some point, you got to speak to, what does your audience care about every day? That's what great brands do. That's what successful brokers do. And if you wake up thinking about that, you're going to kind of forget about everything else and get really focused on what your audience wants.
Right. So if I'm coming to you and I am a broker, a commercial real estate broker, and I've not done much marketing, and say I am that one that's I post to flex. So I'm essentially, everything I'm posting is to look at me, look how good I'm doing, look at this. People don't really care about that at all, unless you're a celebrity or whatever. But even then, they're anyway. So I come in, I'm like, look, I'm posting every day on Twitter. I still call it Twitter, of course. We've got to.
We're reasonable humans here. We call it Twitter.
Right. I call it X, but as this character, you got to still call it Twitter. So I call you up because I'm having a hard time, and you just tell me what you told me, which is like, you're not flexing for other brokers here. Who are you trying to reach out? So walk me through what we're doing here. What questions do I need to ask specifically for this? And what do you need to find out from me?
Yeah, I mean, first I would just clarify, and it is with everybody. I mean, marketing is really just sales at scale. And so I think people who are pretty good brokers ought to be good at sales. And sales is just one-to-one, building relationships, nurturing those relationships, and then moving people hopefully to become clients when they're ready. Marketing is just doing that we're scaling it out. So instead of doing it in a one-to-one perspective, we're kind of doing it one to few or one to many. And we want to treat it the same way. We want to say, I would start with the question, like, if in this hypothetical situation, is I'd say, let's think back to the last, 2, 3, 4 years. We'll pick the time horizon of the deals you've done And of the deals you've done, which ones do you wish all of your deals were like that? Not necessarily because they were the highest dollar amount, but like it was the person you worked with, the type of transaction, the type of deal it was, those kinds of
problem that you solved.
Yeah,
the
problem that you solved.
satisfaction. You know,
Yeah.
We'd reverse engineer that.
Right. And I'd say like I've had a great time working with veterinarians. Really great time. This is one of the deals I can really remember. They've treated me well. So I know that's what comes to mind. Also working with there's somebody else that was super nice. It was family business. They were, I forget what their job was, but you know, those are a couple things that come to mind.
So I would have reverse engineered and say, who are those people? So we got veterinarians and the generic family business that does something for money, hopefully legally, ideally.
I think so.
We'd assume.
It was storage units that smelt kind of iffy, but it was pleasurable.
Yeah, and I think one of the family members' last name was White, first name Walter.
Yeah, that's it, Walter White. Yeah,
that guy. They owned a car wash too, right? Yeah,
they do. I think he was a high school teacher. Actually,
yeah.
Think of it.
You think he was?
Yeah,
maybe
they did a car wash. Yeah,
chemo or something. Anyways, yeah. So
Yeah.
we'd want to figure out. It's a process I use called the idle client story. So I'd want to reverse engineer and say, think about the last 2 years. To again, pick your time horizon. All the clients or deals you've done. Who are the kinds of people that were easiest to sell to? They were the ones that maybe were profitable for you. They were easy to work with. They loved working with you. They became repeat customers or raving fans or referral sources, like those people. And we'd want to basically build out, like Bo said, what's the problem that you solved for them? What was the process like? How did they find you? What triggered them to ready to make a decision? All that stuff. Put it together and say, okay, now we understand at the end of the day who we want to become clients. So then we got to back up and say, from our marketing, what do we need to be doing and where do we need to be in order to show up and attract those people? I was with a B2B manufacturing company last year, and they're on track to do $17 million in sales that year. And they sent me a 25-page marketing document, single space, which is about 24 pages too much. And 3 pages were single spaced descriptions of their audience. And I thought, again, this is about 2.5 pages too long. So we get there and I'm doing the same process. I think in the last 12 to 24 months, the VP of sales is in the room. He's been in that company 20 years. So he's an expert in the audience. And so I'm asking questions. Who typically calls? Who are you on calls with for this product? The key products you sell. And he basically, in a few minutes, we realized it's 3 big groups of people. And he listed who they were. I said, okay. I said, just gut reaction. I said, which of those 3 people probably represents the majority of your phone calls? And he said, oh, without a doubt, that one. Okay. What is it about that audience you think makes them call you? And he said, well, it's this, 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 and this. And I was like, oh, okay. So pause. Your product solves all of the things that audience said. It doesn't solve everything for over here. They only need 1 or 2 problems solved. This audience over here only needs 1 or 2 problems solved. The people in the middle that literally represented 80% of their customer base are the ones who are going to buy the most often, see the most value, and say yes the fastest. And I said, crazy idea. What if we just focus on that audience? And the CMO sitting to my left, and he said, we can make $17 million just selling our key product line to that one audience and forget everything else. And I said, why don't we just go do that? Yeah. $17 million sounds fun. Like, let's just go, or 20.
Right.
You know, I think it happens is we try to go too broad and too vague and say, no. You don't need 500 deals a year. Right. You just reverse engineer the math and say, what is it this audience wants and how can we speak to that? And so for your marketing, it becomes, what problems are we solving for people? The problem piece is the biggest part because people will pay attention when there's tension. And so if we can think about the obstacles that are in the path of our audience buying or selling or leasing, whatever we're doing in commercial real estate, what is it that our audiences wake up that's getting in the way of what their ultimate goals are? And how can we answer those questions, solve those problems, remove those obstacles and get in their way, whether it's taxes or some kind of tax issue, zoning issue, environmental. I mean, Bo, you know, all the stuff that you ought to be an expert in, right? What are the problems that your audience is having as it relates to that?
Yeah. Okay. So, Bo, what are some like roadblocks that you see most commonly through the brokerage company?
Like landing a client or actually understanding what they're going through, or like some of the things we solve. Yeah. Well, here's an example right now. We've got a large company that wants to buy some land and develop their new warehouse, but they're also wanting to branch out and build more and become landlords. Like they want the wealth of the company to be beyond just their core operations, and they want to start investing and developing in commercial real estate. And so we found them a nice piece of land, and there's an issue with a road going through. And so right now what we're dealing with is dealing with the city and planning and zoning and trying to figure out how because roads are expensive. Roads are almost always put on the developers. Like if you develop something, like it's the developer's cost to do that. And so one of the things we're solving so that this deal can move forward and our clients can actually actualize what they're trying to do is we got to solve this issue with the road.
Yeah.
And, you know, it could be planning and zoning. You know, sometimes you need to rezone a piece of dirt so that it can be used in the way you want to use it.
Yeah.
And, you know, you got neighbors. Like I just got a rezoning notice for a piece of property that's adjacent to one that I own. So when you rezone something, notices get sent out to all the neighboring. And I have the opportunity to go to this planning and zoning meeting and voice my concern or support to the rezoning.
Sure.
And if everybody shows up against, it can sway the planning and zoning, or they could just decide to do whatever they want, but or whatever they're allowed in the parameters of the zoning. But
right,
you know, sometimes developers will go have a community meeting and pitch their deal to the community. Well, they don't do that to gain the support of the community. They do that to figure out who are going to be the vocal opposers of their deal.
Yeah.
So that they can start to identify, okay, this guy's going to be a problem. This person's going to be a problem. This lady is unhappy with what we're talking about. And so now I know who's going to oppose me, and I can go about trying to really understand what their problems are and try to solve those offline so I can turn those people who are going to oppose me into proponents of what I'm trying to do,
right,
or at least try to mitigate the issue or know what I'm going to walk into when I get into the planning and zoning meeting. And so they're just as an example.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I want to call out like what Bo's talking about here. The reason I always start with the messaging is I hear that and go, well, there's nobody. Bo, you obviously been doing real estate a long time, but I've yet to meet anybody in residential or commercial real estate who says, hey, the people I serve, the only thing they're doing, you know, they want to buy, sell, lease, or build just because it sounds fun. Mm-hmm. There's always a reason behind, you know what I mean? Like nobody wakes up and goes, no developer wakes up and goes, man, it sounds so fun to build something from scratch. It does not. And that's also not what they want. There's an end goal in mind. So in this case, kind of from marketing language, if you're wanting to work with developers who are wanting to build companies that are wanting to develop because they're wanting to have more wealth tied up into the real estate side of the business, then what I'm saying, what do you want? Well, a company wants to build wealth within the business with their real estate focus or something like that. But the problem is it's a really complex series of things that they don't have expertise in because they've never done this before, haven't done it very often. And there's so many landmines and roadblocks along the way.
Yep.
So now all of a sudden I go from that and saying, hey, I help you buy, build, or buy, sell, lease, or build. It's like, that's not really compelling because that's not what they actually want to get done.
Yeah.
Yep. So in the scenario of the veterinarian, okay, you know, you were talking about Maverick and Top Gun, the problem that he has. Kind of the theme of the movie is for him to stay relevant as an aging aviator in the Navy. You know, he's the hero of that story. And I remember when I was down in Nashville way back when, one of the big takeaways for me was the idea that as the broker in this scenario, I'm not the hero. The customer is actually the hero.
Yeah.
And and this is a mistake I think it's very clear that most people make, is they try to be the hero in their customer's story in competition with their customer.
Oh, wow.
They're both trying to play the hero.
Yeah.
And it just, man, it doesn't land.
Doesn't work.
Right.
It doesn't work. And so, Wes, take us through a better way for
that. Well, on that, have you ever noticed in all the superhero movies, just about every single time when there's more than one superhero, where does the bulk of the conflict of the film actually exist?
The villain.
No, between the heroes,
the group of the heroes.
Oh, right, yeah.
You know, like
the first Avengers movie,
the first Avengers. The Avengers, Civil War, Ultron, like all those.
Yeah,
Every time there's more than one, almost, I mean, even what was the first Spider-Man with Tom Holland? Was that Homecoming?
Homecoming, yeah.
Yeah. He and Tony Stark go at it a bunch. Like they conflict quite a bit. Anytime you have multiple heroes in a story, it just doesn't work. Right? Think about when you go to a networking event, and we've all done these. And you know, I walk up to somebody and say, "Hey, how are you doing?" And I go, "So what do you do?" And I say, "Well, my name is John, and our company's been around for 40 years. My grandfather started it. Now, you know, our logo was blue because my grandmother loved blue ink in her fountain pen. And we're trying to increase our best places to work metric. And we're really trying to grow 22% this year." And you're just like, well, you boys are from Kentucky. I'm from Alabama. That's a real bless your heart moment in your head.
Yeah.
And you're like, bless your heart. I'm moving. Cause I hear you're a hero in your story. I'm trying to be a hero in my story. Let's keep going.
I just want to clarify, when you say it doesn't work, it works for a movie. You're saying it doesn't work for the heroes involved because there's more than one hero, so there's conflict.
Yeah, there's conflict because there can't be multiple heroes in it's hard for multiple heroes to exist in a story.
But those are great, successful movies, so it works for a movie.
Well, yeah, it's a bajillion-dollar film.
Well, there's conflict between the heroes.
Right.
If there weren't, I don't think it would land.
Right. No. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. But in those cases, anytime you kind of have, you know, even in Top Gun Maverick, I think a little bit you've got Rooster and Hangman kind of have competing hero energy among the group of Top Gun pilots, and so that's why there's a little bit of a conflict there. But anyways, the paradigm shift for most brands that I work with, and I worked with hundreds at this point, is they got to get out of trying to be the main character in the story and instead say we are landing in the story that our audience is already living day to day.
So good.
And we're the guide. We are the Yoda. We're the Obi-Wan Kenobi. We're the Haymitch in Hunger Games. We are Iceman in Top Gun Maverick. We are Rafiki in The Lion King, Mary Poppins and Mary Poppins.
Ice Cube in 22 Jump Street.
Ice Cube in 22 Jump Street. There's always these characters that come along, Mr. Miyagi and Karate Kid. I mean, there are books that are written on how screenwriters write films, and this is a key part of it. And it's this mentor figure, this guide figure that comes along and says there's two key things they tell them. One, I understand you. I have empathy for your situation, what you're going through, what you're dealing with. Two, I also have the authority to help you. Where I think commercial real estate brokers go wrong is they lean too heavy into just their authority. And so the way they talk about themselves makes them come across as the hero of the story. In reality, it's here's why I'm the authority, the expert in this particular kind of real estate or the transaction or whatever, so that you can get what you're after, right? That's the shift, is you've got to take yourself out of that driver's seat of the hero and say, no, you are the hero, and whatever you're trying to do is in your business and with your company, with your real estate deals. What I do is I come along and I help you get across the line because I understand the challenges you have. I understand the frustrations you have. And here's why I'm the right solution to help you get to where you're going. And that's the big shift to make.
Yeah. And so good. That's so good.
And we've talked about the egos that are involved in commercial real estate.
Oh, yeah.
And this is probably, I'm sure, not unique to commercial real estate, but it's really hard for the average broker with the big ego to come off that pedestal of the hero and play the role of the guide.
Right.
It's really, really hard to do, to say, look, you're going to get all my expertise. All right. I understand what you're trying to accomplish. We've done this before. I get it, and I'm going to make you successful. I'm going to make you look good. People aren't even they may not even know I was involved, like that would really translate to a prospect or a new client. But the average broker has an ego that's so big that it's really hard for them to step down off that pedestal.
Sure.
And it's a problem.
Okay. So how do we do it? So now we've reframed it a bit, right? The customer's the hero.
Yeah.
Okay. So now what?
Yeah. So the customer's the hero. So then when it comes to your marketing, you want to think about how do I demonstrate my authority by showing them, here's how I can solve your problems.
Yeah.
When I was worked with another commercial real estate broker once, and we got kind of to the weeds of his marketing plan. What are we going to do to consistently show up in front of his audience? And this guy had been doing it pretty successfully for a while. So he had really focused on developing his list. He had a really strong database of contacts in the area. And so one of the things we said was, how do we consistently show up with more than just quarterly market reports? Are those interesting? Sure. Is that all somebody needs to know to trust you? No, because their broker generates those anyway, and they get those from probably 5 different brokerages in their town.
Right.
And so we said was, okay, if we just focus on print mail How do we show our authority? Well, we want to show a few things. One way to show authority is case studies. Tell me, I said, okay, what if let's pick 4 deals you've done in the last 12 months. And I said, let's turn each one of those into a simple postcard, 6x9, pick the dimensions. And on the full print side, we'll have a picture, we'll have a summary of the deal, the details, maybe a testimonial quote from that owner about the deal. On the back side where the address is, you have a couple of lines that highlights the pain point you solved in that deal, and then a link to, and then a QR code, a phone number, whatever. And then obviously the address. I do that 4 times a year. Now all of a sudden, once a quarter, they're maybe getting the quarterly market updates in the mail, but they're also getting my authority in terms of how I've done this for other people, right? Yeah. So that's, now I've already got 8 pieces of mail I can guarantee in a year that doesn't take me very long to make because it's all template anyway. And then I can show another way to demonstrate authority is pick what is maybe the most confusing thing about my particular type of transaction or area that I focus on in commercial real estate. I worked with a guy in California, which translates to they have confusing things everywhere because it's California.
Yep.
There was one thing in particular, it was a recent tax change that was impacting a pretty sizable segment of his audience. And I said, and he explained it to me because he'd obviously studied it because he had to understand it for these transactions because of how they had to handle them. I said, well, does your audience, I jokingly said, do you work with tax professionals as clients? He said, no. I said, great. They don't understand it. They've seen the headlines. They've caught snippets here and there, but they're not full-time focusing on this particular issue that literally could cost them hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars. And I said, what if once a quarter, so 4 times a year, we talked about that particular tax change in 4 different ways in a postcard, even in a letter, if we wanted to just write a letter, or print a letter or whatever. Yeah. Now all of a sudden I've got 12 pieces of mail. What I've done 12 times a year is shown up in somebody's physical mailbox and demonstrate that I'm the guide by showing you, here's how I've solved this problem for other people like you. Yeah. Let me help you understand this problem and let me show you how to solve it. And let me, schedule a call and we'll talk through it so you can better understand it yourself, as opposed to saying, like you said, Bo, real estate in general, residential and commercial, seems to attract a lot of people who love their faces on the billboards and the banners on the left field wall of the high school baseball team. But last I checked, banners and billboards don't make money. They might, but when I drive by one of the high school baseball fields by us, there are literally 10 real residential realtors all in a row. It's like, I'm not hiring one of them to help me buy or sell a house. Same thing in commercial. I don't know just because a face on a billboard. I'm going to hire somebody I trust. And the way we build trust is by showing up every day saying, here's how I can solve your problems.
Yeah. So when it comes to marketing, right? Will you specify marketing? There's social media marketing, right? Yeah. So there's posting as yourself or as your brand. Let's just start there for a second. And then you've got, of course, traditional marketing, which would be advertisements and, what all encompasses marketing, I guess?
It's a lot.
Yeah.
And that's part of the challenge of today's world, because I think people get overwhelmed by all the things they think they should be doing in marketing.
Right.
I had a client one time. They had a marketing manager who was fresh out of college, and she was convinced. I was on a call there one time, and she said, "Hey, I'm working on a TikTok strategy." I said, "TikTok?" She said, "Yeah, I think we need TikTok." I said, "Your audience is primarily guys over 60, maybe 50." I said, if they're on TikTok, it's because they're making sure their kids are not doing anything ridiculous.
Right.
I said, they're not calling you for 6-figure transactions. And I said, your owner is in his mid-60s. Like, the TikTok won't work. I said, what if we fix email marketing first and maybe LinkedIn? And then before we get into TikTok. And the challenge that everybody has in marketing, and it's commercial real estate's not immune, is there's just so many things you could do.
Right.
You have to go back into what I said earlier, which is, who is your target audience? And the next question you ask is, where are they showing up? I was with a company just this week as we record this in Kansas City. And we did worked in their messaging before lunch, after lunch, we start figuring out, okay, marketing strategy, where do we focus? Because again, there's a million things you could do in marketing.
Yeah. And
we literally said, where do we show up? And so we picked 3 channels. It was podcasts. We had a couple of places we knew we could find they're going to do an influencer campaign because it's a B2C product. And then I think the third one was their own social media content. And so that's it. We're not doing all this other stuff because it just doesn't make sense.
Right.
You got to think about, where is my audience most likely to show up, and double down there. Usually that answer is just 2 or 3 channels.
Yeah.
So let's see where we think it is for commercial real estate.
Yeah.
Right? One is, he mentioned direct mail. And that works in commercial real estate. Just as an example, I got a letter a couple of weeks ago, and I was talking with Rod about this. Well, I don't think you were there for that, but I got this letter, and it was just a general prospecting letter. Basically, what it said was, got a client. We did a couple deals last year. He's got an appetite for more. The deals were just like the property that you own. But the unique thing that this young broker did was he put the picture of my property as the header of the letter.
Yeah. Huh.
And it got my attention.
Right.
I called him.
Yeah.
And we're potentially working through a deal on that property.
Yeah, he played to your ego.
And it might even be, well, whatever he did, he didn't act like he was the hero.
Right, right.
And he just said, look, if you've got this problem and that you're wanting to sell this, like, I've got a guy. He's got a track record. I've done some deals with him. Like, those are authority things for me as a seller. I want to know that somebody can actually close.
Yeah.
And I don't think this kid actually knew that he was doing any of this, but you know, now we're talking potentially about this piece of property, but direct mail works. So that's one thing.
Okay.
I would say email works to some extent, especially if they've initiated the process. So if, you know, like any of these landing pages that get you into a funnel, or somebody lands on your website and they want to sign up for something or just be put on the mailing list, like, email seems to work in commercial real estate. And then there's the social media, like online stuff, whether it be, you know, podcasts on one side, or, you know, we've talked about this. Commercial real estate seems to be very active on X and LinkedIn.
Right.
What just happened?
Why are there fireworks?
I don't know. Someone must have liked it. Someone must have liked it.
Do you have reactions turned on?
I must. Sometimes when I do the thumbs up, you know, the little thought bubble will come up, but I don't.
What happens if you do the Macarena? Does it? Anyways, sorry.
Let's see.
I need to voice it. Yeah, I would say to your question, Timmy, I would start with, I mean, every commercial real estate broker who's any good, they always say, like, how do you double down on print mail? Quite honestly, or whether it's, again, you want to think about, you can't just hammer over somebody's head, hire me. That's never going to work.
Right.
If I'm going to consistently put somebody in who's in my audience, that's why this example earlier, over the course of a 12-month period, I'm going to I could send somebody 12 postcards or 12 pieces of mail. None of those are a hard sell. They're all kind of educational. They're showing a case study or story. They're highlighting, hey, here's what's going on in the area, just so you know. It's kind of bringing awareness, it's highlighting problems, etc. What I really want to do is, and Bo, I think commercial real estate, to me, falls under the broader category of expertise businesses. In other words, people are essentially hiring you for your head. Like, it's knowledge work. That's what it is.
Yes.
How do you know how to navigate the deal? What all the tricks are to get from A to Z, from, you know, initial offer to close, like, because of all the things that come up. So they're hiring your head. So in an expertise business, you basically want to say, how can I consistently demonstrate my expertise?
Yeah.
You know, I think some people in marketing, and brokers are probably no exception to this, they feel a little like the ShamWow guy, where they're just yelling at me to buy.
Yeah.
And that doesn't work. You know, how do I show up? So I would start with mail. I would start with snail mail for sure. The next thing I'd move into is email marketing. And again, I don't think you don't want to do it as a hire me, or a, hey, look at all these buildings that are for sale. I would want to mix it in. If I'm in Florida, I might, you could create 26 emails. So one every other week pretty quickly. You take your same case studies that you already did in the mail. So that's 4. Your 4 pieces of content, 4 postcards about maybe a specific issue. Let's say tax or environmental or some hot button topic for your audience is confusing. Now I've got 8 emails. I could probably rework all 8 of those, and now I have 16 emails because I could do 2 for each one in different ways.
Yeah, and then you could just think about the themes of the year. So like when commercial real estate owners get into the first part of the year, like January, February, like all of a sudden they're thinking about taxes.
Yep.
Right.
So you could lead up to April 15th or
I would look at, I would ask my accountant, I'd ask my tax strategist, hey, what are 5 things that people need to know about commercial real estate in terms of the tax code right now? I'd get them to give me those answers. I'd write it in an email. I'd send it to that list every April or every January. Like I do those two things first, print, mail, and email. And then from there, you kind of figure out what works for your audience. I think in some cases you could probably do webinars that are just super high quality, high value, 2-3 times a year that are just really educational. Hey, here's what's going on. Here's a change you need to know about. Social media could work, whether it's, again, I think so much of X seems to be other brokers talking to other brokers.
Right.
Maybe LinkedIn, because you can get more targeted in who you're searching for.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd say let's fix mail and email first, and then we can go do all the fun stuff. You can become an Instagram influencer.
Yeah, because a broker, their client are commercial real estate owners.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Duh.
Or users of space. Or,
users of space. So, that's across the gamut. Like that could be anybody.
Yeah.
Is there like a particular avatar for a commercial real estate owner? You know what I mean? Like, because it could be your mom and pop, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or an immigrant trying to go through to the American dream.
I think the question is, with it being so wide ranging, who should your avatar be?
Yeah.
Right. And that'll be,
like there's not an avatar for the person who owns commercial real estate. That can be so broad. The question is like who's the person you're going to serve well.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And try to attract and become their person.
Yeah. And so it might be depending on the property you find. Right. So sometimes I might gear what I'm putting out there. So if I'm a broker, I would gear what I'm putting out there. I see a property in a strip mall, right? Of a restaurant, an Italian restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
And if I want to go after that, I'm still trying to understand how it works, what brokers do.
Welcome to season 2, everybody.
This is season 2. What do brokers do?
Timmy has not learned it all yet.
So you grew up in the Barron commercial household, and you host a podcast.
Yeah.
Here's what I would say to that. It's a joke. You literally grew up in it, and you talk about it on this podcast, and you're still not quite sure. Are we sure that our audience has any idea what brokers actually do?
That's a great question.
And I know they don't.
Yeah.
Because anytime or oftentimes when they calculate our fee, they do not understand our value.
Yeah.
Because they don't understand what we actually do.
And I know what you do when it comes to underwriting. I know what you do when you've got the client, right? But when it comes to prospecting, I've heard you talk a few times of looking at properties and, trying to figure out the rents of the property and specifically seeing a property that's not run very well. And so for you, it's like, oh, this might be an opportunity.
Yeah, but that's me as an investor. If I'm prospecting as a broker and I'm looking for new business, I'm trying to find somebody that will hire me to solve their problems.
Yeah.
The reality is people transact real estate for only 2 reasons. They have a problem or they see an opportunity.
Yeah.
So when I'm prospecting, I'm trying to figure out what's their problem or their opportunity.
Yeah. Okay.
And you do that by asking great questions. And once you know that, then I can share with them how I can get them to where they want to be.
Yeah.
And as long as I demonstrate enough authority, and I layer on empathy, like, look, we've done this before. I get where you're at.
Yeah.
I've been there myself as a property owner. Like, I get it. Like, then you put yourself in the role of the guide.
Sure.
Allow them to be the hero. And then you can kind of call them like, this is how I can help you get to where you want to be.
Right.
But which
is why I like doing a podcast or like what Justin Ryder is doing. Wes, do you know Justin Ryder? Have you seen his stuff online?
Is he related to CC Ryder?
I don't think so.
I don't know who CC is. But.
That's that CC Ryder is that song that Elvis used to come out to.
Oh,
sorry, it was a terrible joke that nobody understood.
Yeah, that's all right. That happens to me all the time. We move right along. Justin. Anyway. He's putting out really good content, and
he's getting business from it.
He's getting business from it, and of course, with the podcast or doing something along those lines, where if you're going to do social media and put content out there, it's content that is showing your authority, but not to be like, look how smart I am. It's a humble authority because you are just giving away your knowledge for free, essentially.
Yeah.
And the more you do it, the more you are establishing authority and the more you will be top of mind when certain opportunities come along.
And you can bake a ton of empathy into that stuff as well.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So much.
While you're demonstrating your expertise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like if I was going to become a commercial real estate broker myself, because of what I think I'm probably pretty good at on the marketing side, I would probably get really focused on getting people on a weekly or twice a month newsletter. And I would just say, listen, I'm going to explain real estate and we're going to talk about the taxes, environmental, the zoning changes of our area. I live in Gwinnett County, Georgia, one of the 100 largest counties in the country. We have a little over 1 million people, I think. And it feels like we have another 500,000 people moving in within 2 miles of my house. It's getting out of hand.
Wow.
Thankfully, it's raining today, so you can't hear the bulldozers on the property just behind our house. It's been cleared for 40 more single-family homes.
I hear that they have internet up in Big Canoe.
I don't know. I don't go. I don't. That's. You're starting to get into banjo music territory when you start going up there. And just saying, they filmed that movie
banjo
here.
Music here in Kentucky.
They filmed it here. But no, it's But like if I was going to do it, I probably would just say, let me just explain stuff to people. I think modern marketing so much, the fundamental piece is, how can I be an expert who explains stuff to people in a way they understand?
Right.
You know, if I pull back from commercial real estate for a minute, one area that's done this really well in the last 3 to 4 years is sports media. Look how sports media has gone from the 4 talking heads yelling at each other to former athletes doing detailed breakdowns of plays.
Yeah. For
people. I mean, look at who ESPN's hired during basketball season before he became the Lakers head coach. You had JJ Redick, who's a wizard at the basketball. Then you look at who they have on the NFL stuff now on ESPN. They've got guys. Romo. Yeah, he's the Nostradamus. But now you got Tom Brady on Fox. Like, they can break all Bill Belichick. I mean, Peyton and Eli Manning. You get all these guys who are deep experts at something, and people can't get enough of that kind of content, just explaining things.
Right.
So if I'm dealing with, let's say, industrial, then I'm going to figure out, okay, in Gwinnett County, Georgia, if I'm going to focus on industrial in this county, maybe the county next door, what do people need to know? What problems do they have? What are they concerned about? What's new? What are they uncertain about? What's changing? I mean, all this, what's changing between the state and the governor's office or here locally or whatever. And I'm just going to consistently explain things to people and just consistently showing up. People in marketing, people think marketing is all about the big, flashy, sexy stuff, the campaigns, the social media videos and the content, all that. It's really about showing up consistently. How do I show up as somebody who can solve your problem and show you a path forward? What we didn't get into very much is on the story side. You know, we talked about this idea of a guide. It's it's the role we play, the Yoda, the Obi-Wan. But what a guide does is they also give you a plan. So 1, 2, 3. Here's what it looks like. I mean, if I had $1 for every time a movie, there was every time in a movie somebody said, "So here's the plan." Yeah. Like we'd be living large, living big time on one of the big houses. Yeah. As Ric Flair said, the biggest house in the biggest neighborhood on the best part of town. Yeah. The nature boy. Woo. There you go. But anyways, it's like, or how many times have you seen a movie where somebody come in and moves everything off the table, rolls out a map and says, "Here's the plan." Yeah. We got to tell people, here's what you do. Here's how it works to work with me. Yeah. Home Alone, all of them. And then we move into, what do we want people to do? Like, what's the next step they need them to take? And then the way we wrap the story up is what we call success or failure. So we want to give a foreshadowing of, if we solve their problems, like the example Bo mentioned earlier of this company that's wanting to, not only they want to buy property so they can build, but also so they can start leasing space because they want to build more value on the business. But then on the flip side, let's talk about failure a little bit. What happens if somebody's problems don't get solved? What are they going to lose? What are they going to miss out on? And sometimes we got to lean into that failure, like to paint the stakes, because in movies, the bigger the stakes, the more compelling the story is. Right. And so that's what makes us pay attention. So how do we paint those stakes of what happens if they don't solve their problems? And we could also talk about that in our marketing. Right. Yeah. It's so good. Do you know the story of, what's his name? Paul Rand? Is it Paul Rand? Maybe. He's the one who, yes, Paul Rand. He was a designer and he designed the next logo for Steve Jobs. Okay. Do you know this story? I don't. Okay. So I think I've heard it. So Paul Rand is talking to Steve Jobs, and Steve Jobs saying, "I need a logo. Can you do a few mock-ups or whatever?" He's like, "No." He goes, "No." I'll do one. He goes, "No. You have a problem. I have the solution. I'm going to give you my solution, and you're going to pay me for that solution. You could use it or not. That's up to you."
but I'm going to give you I'm going to give you my solution. And that was it. So basically what he did in that response was, you think you need this or you want to pick or whatever, but what you are looking for is a solution, and I have it, and I'm going to give it to you. Simple as that. Which Steve Jobs just like, whoa, and paid the guy $100,000, and then he gave him the logo he created and designed, and that's what he did, and that's what he used. And I think so often I see all around anybody that's trying to sell something or trying to talk to people, which I know a lot of brokers do, any kind of sales or anything, so easily get caught up into trying to sell yourself or trying to sell, rather than really, really simplifying it and being like, look, there's no need for me to go into all this detail to show you how great I am. I've got the solution for you, and getting right down to that.
Yeah, I read a story one time of a company that was basically put out I think an RFP or something for like an 8-figure contract, and I forget what the specific thing was. People will fall all over themselves that kind of a contract, because that can change a company's trajectory. Well, and then the way the process was, everybody submitted their bids, and then the company would select, I think, 5 people to come in and do pitches in front of a team. And so 4 of the people had come in, really slick presentations, like everybody does. You have a presentation, and and I've seen these when I worked with a company one time. It was almost 100 million in sale revenue at that point. They sold for $1 billion last year. But their pitch deck was, here's our awards from places you've never heard of. Here's all the stuff that doesn't matter. And here's what we do. It didn't work. So with them, we flipped the presentation to be about, here's the problem you have. Here's how we solve it. Anyways, this guy the first 4 people walked in, and that was their pitch deck. Here's our awards, best places to work. Here's our bios, all this kind of stuff. The 5th guy goes in, and before he opens a presentation, he says, hey, and we've done a lot of work this for, with all the people in the room, I want to get really clear on something. And what he led was a 15 or 20 minute conversation on what is the actual problem that they're hoping to solve with this 8-figure contract.
Yeah.
And it ended up turning into like an hour-long meeting, and he never opened a slide deck, nothing. All he did was basically get the team to finally agree on what problem are they trying to solve. And then he just talked about how his company could solve it for him. And they won the bid.
Yeah.
Sure.
Simply because they just said, what problem are you trying to solve? You answer that question, and you figure that question out for your audience, and it's a game changer. I mean, watch Shark Tank. How many times on Shark Tank have we seen the sharks go, yeah. What problem does this solve for people?
Right.
I'm not exactly sure why this exists, is what they're saying.
Yeah.
But they really want to know, if it solves a problem, you can go make money off that.
That's right. Oh, so good.
So if marketing is an extension of sales, and commercial real estate tends to be pretty good at sales and pretty terrible at marketing, then what do you think, Wes, we might be able to do about that?
Well, we want to think about, if marketing is just sales at scale.
Well, hold on.
Okay.
Let me clarify my question.
Okay.
What do you think you and I should do about that?
That's a great question, Bo. I think what we should do is, I think we should start a marketing mastery cohort group for commercial real estate brokers.
Oh.
Because this as well as anybody in the commercial real estate space, marketing scares people to death, mainly because they just don't know what they should be doing.
Right.
Like, they see what they think they see what other people are doing that they think are successful, and think, well, I got to go do that. I got to be on this channel. I got to be pointing at text boxes while I'm dancing on TikTok. I've got to have, may as well go get the inflatable things that car dealerships have and put them outside my office, whatever. And they're basically lighting money on fire.
Yeah.
And they're wondering, why am I not getting more meetings? Why am I not getting more prospects? It's not driving sales. It just seems like a distraction. And there's 3 reasons why that's true. 1, they haven't actually clarified what audience are they trying to reach. 2, they haven't clarified what problems they solve for people who are most likely to become clients. And 3, they don't have a really clear, simple plan they can follow every day for a year that's going to become a marketing that alleviates their headache and ultimately drives more prospects who become clients.
Yeah.
So what if there were something that a commercial real estate practitioner could join that would guide them through all those landmines, help them not light all that money on fire, and actually create something that's effective, that puts them in the role of the guide instead of the hero talks directly to who they want their core customer to be.
Yeah.
And starts to generate leads because they're demonstrating empathy and demonstrating their authority. And it's customized to you and mostly done for you.
That sounds like a fantastic solution to a big problem.
Well, see, that's what we think.
I agree. I want to know how. This is the time where I wish I could do fireworks like Bo did. I don't know how. Do I need to go Wakanda for it? Like, what do I do here?
We've got some.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
It's not fireworks, but some hype.
Yeah. So there's a group for that. And what we're launching soon, and you can go to wesgay.com/CS because that's easier to spell on your phone or wherever you're listening than commercially speaking. wesgay.com/CS. And what you can do is join the waitlist for our new marketing master group. And what we're going to do is we will guide you through all of the key decisions you need to make in a clear, simple way. So we'll help you get really clear on defining who your audience is, really clear on clarifying your problems, and then create a marketing plan that is not overwhelming. It's simple and gives you the templates and tools you need to go get it done pretty easily.
Yeah. Yes. Love it. Love it.
Yeah. So, and if anybody goes to wesgay.com/CS, you'll join the waitlist for when we get ready to launch. You'll be the first ones to know. You'll also get a free guide that I've created called the 7 Components of a Strong Broker Brand. What are the 7 things that you as a commercial real estate broker need to be doing and saying that help create you as a strong brand out in the marketplace so that you don't have to watch your competitors beat you?
Yeah.
Way to be ready.
Yeah. So good.
I come prepared.
So good.
Unlike the University of Florida football team this year, but I digress.
Ha 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 ha.
Hey, Timmy, if you watched college football, you would understand how funny that actually is.
No, I'm laughing at the Gators not doing well.
Okay.
And how
That's
sad
what I
it's actually sad. Funny is the wrong word. Sad is the correct word.
No,
Well,
not to us.
Not to us, man.
That's I was pointing and laugh. That was a point laugh. Laugh. Yeah. It wasn't as sarcastic as you thought.
Okay.
Or sarcastic in a different way, I guess. Gators.
Yeah. So what Bo and I are going to do is I'm going to take you. I've worked with hundreds of brands, a bunch of folks in and around commercial real estate, also in residential real estate. I've learned things on both of those that what the best people do well. There are plenty of people I've run across and worked with who are doing by themselves or with a team of 1 or 2, 3 people. They're clearing 7 figures a year. They're not trying to be the coolest person on X or Twitter. They're not trying to be Instagram famous. They're just trying to figure out what do I need to say and where do I need to say it so that more of my ideal clients start showing up.
Yeah.
And it clears the path so that I can go convert those prospects into clients and make money.
And then solve their problems.
That's
exactly.
Right. Solve the problem. If there was anything I'd have to add to any of this is to help all these that are sitting there with these problems are like, I don't know what to do. You know, I see Bo over here. He's got a podcast and putting out content and everything. I should be doing that. It seems to be going well for him. I've talked with because I've done social media for over a decade now. Worked with different companies. Worked at that college. Doing it for myself as well. And one thing that and a lot of actors is when it comes to that area in that arena of putting out content. You do not have to do it if it's not something that's in you to do. Authenticity is huge and that's the one thing. It's like, be authentic to yourself. So find your problems, find the things, but the solutions that you're coming up with for whatever marketing it is, make sure that it is within yourself to do it, or that you got somebody that can help bring it out, right? Because we do this because we teamed up together. You got the expertise and you're also great on camera. Oh, thanks. And a credible voice.
But look, if I showed up with a t-shirt and the 1-strap overalls and blonde hair, and I tried to be you, it would not work.
No. Yeah.
It would not work. We just had we're putting our house on the market on Monday.
Yeah.
My house is for sale. Okay. This will come
out
after.
Is it house or manor? Which one is the more appropriate term?
It's not manor. It's just a house. But like when I saw the professional photos of our house, like that is my kitchen, but like that kitchen has never looked that good.
Right.
Like the way they do the lighting and I was like, holy moly, do I even want to sell this house?
Right.
You know? And that's the risk you take if you try to become somebody else. And then when you're actually in front of your ideal client, they're like, I thought you were going to be this guy I see online.
Yeah.
Or I thought you were going to, and there's this incongruity there.
Yeah.
And it actually works against you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a guy that
be who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a guy that Bo and I both know who's very successful in his particular niche. My guess is he's never he uses email. I think he may text and phone call. I don't think he's ever even tried to create a social media account in his life. And he's one of the top brokers in a very competitive area.
Yeah.
And but he's approached marketing differently over the years. And he's figured out what works for him.
Yeah.
He found that great overlap. And I'm glad you called this out to me. I think sometimes in marketing, we think, oh, we have to do all these things. This is what other people are doing. The great thing is you don't need 500 deals a year. So what are the 5, 8, 10, 15 deals you need to go get in the next 12 months or whatever that number is that you want to go close in the next 12 to 12 months? And then what makes sense for what you feel like you're really good at? Maybe you're good on camera. Maybe you're good at naturally doing short form videos. Maybe you feel more comfortable writing. Maybe you feel more comfortable doing events somehow. I mean, you just got to figure out the best channels for what works for you to go out and really push your marketing.
Yeah, 100%. I'm totally, I'm behind you on that. If you want to do a podcast, go out and do it. If you don't want to do a podcast, don't do it. Don't do it.
This is America, dang it. You don't have to do it if you don't want to.
You don't have to. You don't have to. Yeah, which is great. But sounds like wesgay.com/CS will help you figure out what it is that you want to do and can do and solve the problems for for the potential clients.
For the people doing the things. Yeah, that's what you're trying to say.
Nicely done.
For the people doing the things. That's right. That's right. Well, Wes, where can people find you? I know you just sent us to wesgay.com/CS, but over and above that, where can people find you?
Twitter/X. I'm at Wes Gay. LinkedIn, whatever that URL is, .com/whatever/Wes Gay. Facebook, Wes Gay. Instagram, Wes Gay. You could also probably find me in a donut or coffee shop when I'm traveling and doing on-site sessions with clients.
Check it out. Check out those donut shops, everybody.
And I will just say this about Wes. There's not an industry I can think of unless you just don't want people to know about you and you don't want to sell things.
Yeah.
That couldn't use Wes in some way.
Yeah.
And like even I mentioned we used him at the Massimo Group first, then we used him at church, and then we used him at Barron Commercial Group here.
Yeah.
He's now working with us at Hearthstone Capital.
Yeah.
Wes is our go-to guy. And if you're not a listener to our podcast and you don't live in our town and you're not in commercial real estate, you have no clue who I am.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
But like Wes works with some people you have heard of.
Yeah.
And the more I hear about who some of these others that he actually works with, I'm like, and he takes my calls. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm talking to him right now.
Yeah.
Wow.
But if you're listening to this podcast and you have a small business or a large business, or you want to clarify your messaging and grow, like Wes is a great option for you to consider.
Yeah. And Wes, before we let you go, what problem do you think pickleball solved? I'm curious.
That's
how honest do you want me to be?
I want you to be very honest. It sounds like a funny question, right? But
I think it solves the problem. I think there's actually a couple of problems it solves. One is serious and one is not. So I'll start with the one that's not serious. I think pickleball solves the problem of something that bored middle class white people needed to do.
Yeah.
The second thing I think it solves. That's my deeply unserious one.
Yeah.
It's like pickleball or we're going to go get some chickens. Is this like phase that white people in the 30s and 40s tend to hit? We are not hitting either one of those, but I digress. I think the second thing it actually solves is a problem that's broader. I think pickleball in some ways has become what bowling leagues were 30 years ago.
It's community.
It's a community play.
Yeah.
Like bowling leagues used to be a thing, and we could go talk on for a while about this, but it used to be you had work that was not at your house. So you had work, you had home, and then you had these third places. Is what Starbucks was originally premised to be. And then you had like the local, little leagues before they got, crazy in youth sports.
Yeah.
But it's what church is. It's what I'm sure they have them up there, the Red Hat Purple Dress Club that the women, some of the women's or like the civic organizations, the Lions Club, Key Club, those kind of things. And then you had bowling leagues, that kind of stuff. It's a community thing. That's why there's a pickleball. There's one of those multi live work play areas. We have a bunch of those around us now. There's like a Top Golf, Andretti Racing.
Right.
And they've got a pickleball place that's like pickleball courts and a restaurant and a sports bar. But it's a community thing. That's what it is. The same reason breweries have taken off. It's community.
Community. Wow. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks for that answer. Yeah.
And what? 12 months from now, we'll let Wes know why you asked that question.
Yeah, I've come up with a new sport. We've alluded to it a few times that I've been working on with my best friend.
I would say your best bet is probably to start test it if you're not testing it yet.
Yeah.
Find some youth pastors and say, hey, can I test this with your youth group? And let a bunch of high schoolers do it.
I've there's a history there. I'm not allowed to ask that anymore. Totally kidding. 100%.
I would love to know the new sport that's coming out of Kentucky.
Yeah.
It's fun. I've played.
It's so fun. Are you going to Massimo Con?
I'm not a broker.
You're not a broker. Yeah, neither am I.
Sounds like I should be.
Yeah, neither am I. But I got tickets, so. Yeah.
I'm getting all Rod's emails every time I get an email. I go, I wish looks like a party. I'm not gonna know anybody, but it looks fun.
Yeah. Oh no, you'll know some of us.
I know a couple of you.
Yeah,
you would. But yeah, I was just thinking, when could I play it with you? Anyway, we'll figure out the time.
Hey, next time we're in Atlanta.
That's right. Oh yeah, Atlanta, baby. Stay safe with the hurricane.
It is. They've already canceled school tomorrow.
Yeah.
80 miles. I went to the grocery store last night and we hadn't hit like French toast panic yet. So the eggs were still there, the bread was still there, the milk was still there. So,
but I bet it's not now.
That's good.
But we got to watch the Waffle House Index. Y'all familiar with this?
No.
So there's this thing. Obviously, Waffle House is based in Atlanta. When the CEO of Waffle House passed away 3 weeks ago, the governor of Georgia put out a statement. The mayor of Atlanta put out a statement about it. But anyways, the Waffle House Index is something they use anecdotally when storms are coming through. And they say which Waffle Houses are closed. And so they figure if a Waffle House closes, that means the storm is probably going to get bad in that area.
Oh, wow.
So
interesting.
I've seen a Waffle House that didn't close. I went after a storm and the front door had blown off.
Oh, wow.
And it was without a front door.
Oh, wow.
Which is not necessarily that big an issue because they're always open.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But, yeah, I just found a blog on the Waffle House website explaining the Waffle House Index.
Cool. Cool. We'll put that in the show notes. Well, Wes Gay, thank you so much.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, this has been absolute pleasure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah. So valuable. And thank you so much for your time.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. We're going to do some last, we're going to close out with some call to actions. So if you can hang out if you want to, but you can hit the leave button whenever.
Okay. I was afraid I was going to have to do the 5 questions or whatever y'all have done before.
Oh, the quiz?
Oh,
quiz.
do you want to?
We can do a quiz.
We can do a quiz?
Let's do a pop. Oh, I think I'm excited about this. You know why? Because I love marketing. All right, hold on. Let's all right. Yeah, Bo. You want to ask me?
Do we not need our pop quiz?
No, I got it here.
Oh, you got it here.
Yeah.
All right. So, Wes, here's how we do this.
You got to ask me. You got to ask me. Are you ready? Yeah.
You ready for a pop quiz?
Yeah.
All right, pop quiz. All right, Wes, this is how this goes down. We're going to ask Timmy 5 questions. You are our guest today, so you get to ask the first question, the third question, and the 5th question. You can ask him a question about anything. It can be what we've covered here today or something completely unrelated. Some people just like to play Stump Timmy. It's been progressively harder and harder to do, but we'll alternate back and forth. And question 1 is yours.
All right, Timmy, you said that you are you have some experience with marketing.
Yes.
When you watch other people talk about marketing, what is the advice that makes you want to throw your computer out the window in anger?
Oh my God, that's a great question.
That is a good question. I'm really interested in the answer here.
My mind is kind of going blank. When you see it, you know it. And when you see it, it happens. I'm just thinking of like, if right now it's just like when people say that you have to do something, that when you don't, right? We just talked about that. You don't. You find what you're good at. You find what you like, and you do. Or where it's all about showing your shiny stuff and your shiny things.
Yeah, the pictures by the jets and the Ferraris and all that stuff.
Your expensive food, you know, or your kids.
Your kids, huh?
Some people post their kids a little too much. Yeah, but yeah, what would you say, Wes?
There's a lot of things. I think one of the things that from a tactical perspective that drives me nuts is the people who say you have to do SEO.
Yeah.
Like I was on the call with somebody the other day and they said, we really got to optimize this for Google. And I said, but the audience we're trying to reach is executives at companies who are over $100 million a year in revenue. They're not Googling stuff.
Yeah.
They're just not. Like, why are we bothered with keyword stuffing on this?
Yep.
So I'll try to stay off my SEO soapbox. That's a big one that I see all the time.
Yeah.
Or like you said, you have to do XYZ thing.
Right.
I've met a lot of people making an awful lot of money who didn't do those things.
Yeah. I think anyone that says definitively you have to do X.
Here's mine. Not my question, but anytime I hear this formula, I have discovered the secret.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And I'm going to share it with you.
Yeah.
And because that's what happens when you discover a groundbreaking, highly lucrative secret is I'm just going to tell everybody about it.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
Yep.
I actually got my answer. My answer.
There you go.
When there is a video that you see and they're going to tell you some piece of information and 15 minutes later, it never comes and you have to sign up for something that pisses me off. I've gotten, I'm privy to it now, so I can tell really rather quickly. Oh, they're never going to say the answer. They just want me to click or sign up for whatever to get it. But they just drag you along. Or it's a webinar you go into and they make it seem like it's live, but it's not live. But they're like answering questions like they're real questions coming in. Yep. There we go.
There are whole strategies and scripts around how to do just that, how to talk for an hour and never actually say anything.
That's right. Stop doing it, people.
All right. Question 2. Wes shared with us 2 main things that you need to step into the role of the guide.
Yeah.
What would those 2 things be?
Authority.
Yes.
Expertise, knowledge.
That's really kind of all in the authority bucket.
Yeah. Authority and, good question. And you got to lead them. Authority and.
Well, that's what you're calling them to, but just to step into that role, you need to demonstrate 2 things.
Case study.
Case study is probably more
part of the authority. Help them understand the most confusing thing. That's all. Oh man, what does it start with?
E.
Authority and expertise. Authority and equality.
EM.
And immaculate conception.
That's IM, but okay.
Well, what impact?
Empathy.
Empathy. Empathy.
There you go.
All right, there we go. Oh wait, no, it's this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Question 3. Wes, what do you got?
There's obviously a lot of things you can do in marketing, and I mentioned it, and Bo said it too. There's one particular marketing tactic that still works really well in commercial real estate, and I said it's the first thing you should really tackle. What is that?
Email. Oh no, snail mail.
Yes.
Yeah. Snail mail and email.
Very good.
Bing, bing.
All right, question 4. Normal commercial real estate marketing generally puts the broker in conflict with the prospect. Why?
Because the broker is trying to be the hero.
just like
their client should be the hero.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That is exactly right.
Whoa.
Very well.
Good questions.
All right. Last question. I think you're 3 for 4 so far. Wes, question 5.
Let's go way off the rails here.
All right.
What's the worst gift you've ever received?
I know it. I know it right away.
It's right there.
Yeah.
Did I give it to you?
Yeah, you did. This is the thing that I think about of like worst gifts. Yeah.
And it was from me?
It's from you.
I'm so sorry.
No,
What
it's
was
okay.
it?
I'm turning 8. I'm a boy in in Kentucky. I'm a boy in Kentucky, and I'm turning 8. You're 18, so you must have been living at the house. Maybe. You get me a puzzle. Do you remember this?
Not at all.
You bought me a puzzle. That's great. I open it up, and it's a Little Mermaid puzzle. For a little 8-year-old boy from a very, very, masculine driven family.
I loved that movie.
Hey, it's
Loved
a good
it.
movie.
Could quote the whole thing. Used to do impersonations of Sebastian the Clam.
Do it. He's a crab.
Yeah, he's crab.
You love
He loved it so much.
Under the sea.
Somebody's got to nail that girl's fins to the floor.
That's so good.
Okay,
That's really good.
I love it. So maybe I gave you the gift that I wished that I would have received.
Yeah. No. Okay. Yeah. And I took it as this movie is for girls. And my oldest brother just gave me a girl movie puzzle. And I'm 8.
He must hate me.
I didn't mean to.
Like, what is
There's
he
a wound here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks,
Anyway.
Wes.
Yeah.
And
what's
today's
yours?
sponsor is BetterHelp for the therapy you need after.
Oh, the trauma.
BetterHelp.com/puzzle for this code. Yeah.
Ariel.
Now you got to do a whole podcast, Bo, as Sebastian.
Yeah.
I think is what the people want.
I don't. I don't know.
That's why it's hotter under the water. Under the sea. Under the sea. That's Shaggy now.
Yeah. So Wes, what was yours?
Yeah.
My worst. I was 12,
Man,
and
these are
I
going
got
back.
I got coloring books about horses and plastic horses from my aunt, but I didn't. This is going to sound weird. I didn't realize until after she passed away she was never actually my aunt. Because she and my uncle never actually got married. I didn't know that until I was an adult.
Oh,
it's one of those
gotcha.
situations. Yeah,
yeah.
probably that one.
Yeah.
Because I was 12 and I was going, why are there plastic? I've never cared about horses.
Yeah.
We don't have horses. I think I've ridden a horse once in my life.
Yeah.
And why do I want a coloring book?
What's up with all the horses?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got the horses in the back. I'm going to kick off Old
Horses
Town
in the
Road.
bag. Money in the mirror. I don't
It's
know.
always something.
To the hotel room. Yeah. You like Elton John? Whoa.
So that was
Because I can't no more.
it sounds like 2/3 of this podcast panel is ADHD.
Yeah, it does.
It doesn't help.
What about you, Bo? I know you've been thinking about it.
I can't really think of anything.
Yeah.
I can think of some of the good ones, but I don't really have a memory of the worst one I ever received.
Yeah. I can't believe that popped in my head so quickly.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well,
Sorry about that.
Well, if y'all want to find out when Bo finally thinks of it, we'll put it in the weekly newsletter. That's right. Every Thursday, we send out a newsletter with curated articles on negotiations, business, entrepreneurship, commercial real estate, of course. And you'll see our latest podcast episode. Season 2 is officially coming out on October 14th. Do not forget to go to wesgay.com/CS if you need some help in the solution to all your marketing problems for commercial real estate and its brokerage. Like, subscribe, ding that little bell. Bo, how can they sign up for our newsletter?
Yeah, you go to subscribe.wgbaron.com.
You follow us on all social media at Commercially Speaking. The only place it's different is on X, which is Speak Pod. Anyway, big shout out to Wes Gay.
Yeah, man.
Wes, thanks for being here.
Great to
Thanks
have
for
you,
having
man.
me. Thanks for having me.
All right.
All right.
And we'll talk soon, my friend.
Sounds good.
We'll see y'all later. Love you, brother.
Love you, man.
Bye,
Bye,
Alice. Yay! All right. Later, taters.